Greetings, I'm Les.
And I am Scandal.
And let's review a book together. So this is The Charm Fable.
Mousey and the Golden Book.
By Nicholas S. Casale. And I performed this book.
Yeah, you did, shockingly.
I did. So if you haven't listened to the preview or if you haven't read the book, we'd love it if you'd run on over and watch the preview. There is a link in the description.
Yes, quite. It's very useful if you'd like to make use of it.
So this is one of the first actual children's books we've done on this channel. And I have to say that my friend Scandal here has not read that many children's books.
I mean, the thing is that I read so much over the years, but I really did. So, it's a little bit of background on me. One of the first books I ever really loved and was on board with, ever since I was like 5 or something, I read Raptor Red by Robert T. Bacher. That was my bedtime story. My dad would read that to me, and I would read it to him. This is more like, probably you want to say anywhere from 8th to 10th grade. Basically, like, let's walk in the mind of animals book.
Okay, so
so
for me,
this is interesting.
So we have a very different background, literary-wise, between Scandal and myself.
Yep.
Because I was delayed with reading and had to work really hard to be able to read at my grade level, which I never achieved until like 8th grade. And Scandal was reading way ahead of the curve their entire time. So I read a lot of kids' books for a lot of time, and this felt pretty like very familiar, like children's fantasy with animals fiction. Like it was really like, I haven't read a book like this for a long time. It didn't really smack of like Redwall to me, which has a very particular feel with a very large cast of characters immediately.
Right.
But it did remind me of like Warrior Cats and, just basically all of your like magical animal fiction kind of stuff.
I have to say is definitely beyond me, and as for someone who actually ended up reading actually while I was at work, some of the Warrior Cats books, God, I hated those books.
I didn't say I liked them. But you
I like the comparison. It's like, oh, that's where we're gonna go, because I disliked them.
But it also made me
strongly.
think of Redwall as well, given that you specifically have mice in the forefront.
Right.
I don't think in American literature or British literature you can really get away from a Redwall comparison if you're gonna have like a lead mouse.
Yeah, no kidding. Though I will say, honestly, so at least like mildly, I think people give Redwall way too much credit. Going back and actually reading it as the years have gone on, because I read all those books when I was a kid. And then going to that and saying this, like, you've got honestly a fair chance. Like, the one good thing about Brian Jacques really was the recipes, I felt like in some cases. Like, you really go back to, you're like, this just sounds like food and family and riddles, and it's so charming.
I loved it so much for the characters. Like, everybody had a really clear voice, and the different accents were fun. Anyway, back to this book. This book, what I liked about this book was really that there was a couple of clever, unexpected things, even just in the preview, which was kind of fun.
Right.
So if you haven't read it, I'm going to spoil it for you, because this isn't the actual book, it's just a preview.
Right.
When the captain of the guard, or not captain, so I guess lieutenant in the guard, who has, come and arrested this, the mouse, our lead character, is like, we're all vampire bats. Like, all the night guard is vampire bats. And then one of them actually has basically augmented prosthetic armor so that he's actually a mouse.
Right.
And he has
the
false
big reveal
wings.
of the first 5 minutes. And also the thing that I laughed about was going, so is this the dad? Because we immediately, unfortunately what we have a boy character who has lost his father, and his father has disappeared, and his father was a scavenger, and then suddenly we have this mouse that shows up on the guard on the opposing side. Right. It felt like, for me, I was like,
it's the dad trope.
It's the dead dad trope, that he's not actually dead, and I'm going to secretly be your mentor. And I betcha one of two things. It's going to go into the trope of the dad is going to die dramatically to save his son, or it's going to be that the dad is actually he's gone basically bad, and that you're going to have, Mousey needing to defeat his dad, to prove that he's better than his dad kind of thing.
Or having that sort of moral quandary kind of thing of going, can I, fighting against my dad, even if he's bad, what's that like? So one of those two things, that would be our sort of like projected thought, is one, either his dad is immediately going to save him at some point when because Mousey has a plan to escape his, basically indentured servitude to the guard. Right. Which he does end himself up in that position rather quickly. Right. I'll say, and then I figure like once you get into the book proper, either his dad will sacrifice himself to save him, or his dad will really be like in with the bad guys and he'll have to fight against his dad.
Right. Now, there were some things about this that I thought were vaguely interesting. Again, so my background is like, I really have honestly read a lot of kids' things. It was just the fact that I've read so much. Like, I was the kind of person who really could, in like less than an hour, depending on basically your reading level, where it was. On average, I can pretty much get through 100 pages in about an hour.
Yes.
Still, even nowadays.
And I've seen this person get through like 2 Goosebumps books in an hour. The full book.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just like, so I'm not gonna say it like it has some interesting elements to it, but there was a couple of things that tripped me up. So like in the very beginning, it goes from here's the thing about the mice, and then suddenly saying our people were enslaved, and it suddenly goes into a weird first person, like it's somebody trying to tell the story, and then it immediately drops it
into third person. Like, and I was like, shift really quickly.
Your point of view shifted. Like, it was very soft, but it was enough to make me go, wait, what? And then it never comes back for the whole preview. So I didn't know what this was supposed to be, and it was a little bit confusing.
That caught me up actually a little bit when I was even trying to perform it. The immediate change in tense of it sounded like first we were going to be narrated to, and then after that it was suddenly like, you know, we were third person just watching kind of thing. And then after that, though, there were some things that I liked about the universe, the idea of it, because it sounds like it's going to be at first like, you know, you got little animals and, you know, you've got Mousey going off and playing, and he's like dreaming about being a bear and stuff, and it's all very nature. And then suddenly he mentions airships, and I'm like, you have technology with airships in here, you have magic and airships, and it's post-human. Like, it specifically, you know, indicates that it's post-human. So you've had some kind of apocalypse where the humans got removed, but we still have human stuff here somehow. And there's airships.
Was it? Because I didn't pick up on that at all.
The historical giant apes that had all the technology.
Oh, see, I was actually going to take it as quite literal apes.
Like apes?
Yeah, because the thing is that just a world basically that has been removed of people, and all you have are literally like apes.
Except for these it said they were already extinct. So they would have been the developed, technologically advanced, cultural apes.
Well, that could be very specious-centric of you. You never know.
Maybe they were actual apes, and the apes had an apocalypse, but I thought they were
because we're like, again, that thing, that red wall thing of going, the badgers were, you know, the high-ranking ones, and you had then the rabbits and whatever else. But, so I'm like, for me, I was like, I think it'd be super cool. All you have is just animals, right?
Could be. And then going, what kind of an apocalypse did the apes suffer?
Right.
So the prequel is where the world goes bad for the apes.
Right? I mean, and it, like, again, there are some things I think would be very interesting about this, but I'm hesitant to really go, like, it sounds like it'll be very intensive or very deep. To me, I was kind of meh. The trope is really kind of boring to me, honestly, of being like, and there's the boy, and he's gonna get dragged off, and oh no, this thing. Like, it was too much for me, and I really kind of get tired sometimes in fantasy settings, and I'm sure there's not gonna be necessarily any necessary sense of revolution. We're gonna have basically a reinstallation of a monarchy kind of thing, you know, the true kings, whatever it might be, which is really weird in terms of fantasy books when you look at it, honestly. Right? Like, why are we so into going, the one king to rule them all, the one to bind them kind of thing?
Say that there was that the bad person was a queen, so it does seem like they have some kind of an archy in place,
right?
You know, a monarchy. Is it still called a monarchy if you have a female ruler?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Monarch, you're just a monarch.
You're
it's
just
not a kingarchy,
right? A kingarchy.
It's just a monarch.
It's just a monarchy. It's a butterflyarchy.
It's a butterflyarchy.
Anyway, and so I don't imagine I don't know if they're trying to overthrow the system of government ultimately, or get out of the rule of this, you know, sort of tyrannical cats.
Well,
what I thought was weird, or what caught me, even as I was like, prosthetic bat wings on a mouse to make them fly magically, because they are enchanted bat wings.
Right.
That's just cool as hell to me. That's very fun.
It sounds super neat. Again,
anyway, but I was gonna say, what caught me is going, you describe Mousey as heading out, you know, as being part of an enslaved population. All mice are slaves. But then you also describe him having the opportunity to play with squirrels or play with hedgehogs and things like that, and that he refused, you know, that he's just not interested in sports and things. And I'm going, were those animals enslaved as well, or
are they just... The state of things is not very clear. It's just all mice. Is it just all mice? Because the mice is, when you think about it populace-wise, is a very small part of, like, the whole grand scheme of the animal kingdom.
Maybe.
Like, we've got a frog in here. We've got an implication about a toad king or whatever the heck it was.
Another kingdom, toad king,
Another kingdom as well. Like, you've got the vampire bats. Like, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm just curious how all this breaks down, and goes and gets involved with itself. And you've got cats. Like, cats of all damn things. Why a cat? Cats are incredibly antisocial. Why not pick, like, a lion?
I mean, you don't have to be social to want to rule over everything. But you
cat.
do just have to have a desire for power, I would think. But, like, the cat, like, tyrannical ruler is a really classic choice. That might be why you go,
Maybe.
I don't expect this book to be super unique or, like, super, like, deep and original.
Right.
Because a cat as a bad guy is very common.
It really is, is, and also is a sort of a frustrating trope as somebody who's liked cats, is going like, cats do sometimes think they're in charge, but for the most part, they don't usually seem to demand that much attention.
I would be
but
interested to see, since it immediately subverted this idea that, you know, all the guards are bats, and that the one that's incognito actually isn't truly incognito, at least so far as we know, unless our narrator's being unreliable.
Right.
They actually just went and got in good with the queen, going, look, I am a freaking badass mouse. I bring you magic, and I have created an artifact wherein I can fly. I'd like to join your guard.
My problem
That's
is
super
going
cool.
like, why the heck would they go for that anyway? Like, I do not understand then the queen's motivation. Like, maybe it's like it would be more interesting, and I'm asking sort of a weird
And what I was going to
question.
say is then maybe what you have more is actually going, the queen isn't necessarily evil. Maybe she also can be pushed around, or is, you know, being essentially driven by external forces.
Yeah, maybe it's more complex than I think, but unfortunately in some cases I'm not sure. To me, also there were some characteristics in this book, so it sounded kind of like a new author.
Mm-hmm.
There were some of the things where we talked about, like, tenses go kind of weird, that weird, I don't know if it was a mistake or if it was on purpose.
I only noticed the tense right at the beginning. I didn't notice it shift again ever within the preview.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just like, the shifting, and then, I don't know, some of the stuff just didn't work for me for some of the descriptors, but I guess
it did feel like a new author for sure. I would say, but it didn't have like all the most horrible things that I hate about new authors. Like, it didn't go crazy into descriptions of this is what the main character looks like, and they stop and stare at themselves in a mirror. Some of the bigger tropes of how I describe my main character.
I mean, the thing is though,
well.
you have to understand though, this is a boy character, so they're not going to do that. They really mostly do that with girl characters.
I've
unfortunately,
seen it with boy characters.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I've seen some of it, but it's not nearly. It doesn't feel nearly as like prolific, if that makes sense. Anyway, well, I guess more or less. That
sort of covers my thoughts on the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of been the thing. So this has been Scandal.
And I have been Les, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you really want to go check out this book, we've got links down in the description below if you want to go see their book for yourself. And other than that, please enjoy your day, and we will see you later.
Bye!